Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Talking Politics. My name is Robert Press, your host. I write for the Bronx Chronicle. Here is my official New York City press identification from the Bronx Chronicle. I also write for the Co-op City News and the Parkchester Times, which, like this show, the Parkchester Times is owned by Muslim media. Let's get into the weather first. Right now, today is going to be a beautiful day with a high of 71. However, Saturday looks like a washout with rain predicted and a high of only 62. Sunday, there may be some possible leftover rain with a high of 66. Then on Monday, it's back to nice weather with a high around 72. Now, sometimes some of my readers ask me to talk about Community Board 11. I try and wait till the end to do it. But last night, there was a Community Board 11 Leadership Committee meeting, which was probably one of the worst committee meetings I have ever seen. And I sat on a community board for 6 years, and I've been watching many other community boards over about the past 10 to 15 years. One member was saying two words that should never be said at a community board meeting because they are not proper words. I wonder how the borough president is going to handle this. I think the borough president should look at that leadership committee meeting. And I'm going to say this, I must commend the ethics committee chair for the way she handled the situation and her solution. There was a problem where two members were fighting about something that was written in the Bronx Times. Her solution was that all Community Board 11 members get diversity training. And Ms. Pembleton, I congratulate you for that decision. Now, let's get on to the news. It appears that the redistricting of the redrawing of New York State congressional district lines has stopped as the top court has declined to start the process to redraw New York congressional district lines. So it appears that those district lines will probably remain in effect for next year's congressional race, because petitioning starts at the end of February, running through the beginning of April. And then also the New York presidential primary will be held on April 4th, 2024 next year. As far as President Biden goes, the first few announcements, and then I'll get into his speech at the UN. The Biden administration has announced that it is providing $600 million in funding to produce new at-home COVID-19 tests and is restarting a website allowing Americans to again order up to 4 free tests per household. Once that website is up, I'll give you that information. The Biden administration also said that it will allow hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans already in the United States to work legally in the country for 18 months, a decision followed by intense advocacy by top Democrats, including Governor Hochul, who met with the president while he was in town. And this is because of the worsening conditions in Venezuela, not the migrant situation in New York, the White House has said. And Mayor Adams, though, while he said to President Biden through like the emails or whatever, he said, or I should say social media, that Joe Biden, the president, should swing by the Roosevelt Hotel migrant shelter before ending his trip to New York City to see just how much the asylum-seeking crisis is impacting the city. However, Mayor Adams was nowhere to be seen with President Biden at all. Now to the UN speech. President Biden and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky both addressed members of the General Assembly on Tuesday, warning of the consequences of pulling back on support of the Ukraine with its war with Russia. In his annual address to the body, Biden cast solidarity with Ukraine as a necessary step to deter other would-be aggressors. Russia believes the world will grow weary and allow it to brutalize Ukraine without consequences, he said. If UN member nations abandon their core principles and appease an antagonist, no one will be safe, Biden said. If we allow Ukraine to be carved up, is this the independence of any nation secure? Biden asked. I respectfully suggest the answer is no. Biden's stark message seemed to be directed at Washington, at much of those world leaders in the audience. As Americans support the war in Ukraine has softened, Some congressional Republicans and Democrats are resisting his request for $24 billion in military and humanitarian aid to the war-torn country. However, it appears that $325 million in U.S. aid is going to the Ukraine that President Biden has agreed to. With his speech, it seemed like to me that President Biden wants to start World War III with Russia. So be prepared, stock up on canned goods, on anything that you can, because be prepared. It's not going to be nice possibly in the next few years. A sitting U.S. senator has been indicted. Yes, Kevin, I agree with you. The New York Times is reporting that New Jersey U.S. Senator Robert Melendez has been charged in a federal corruption indictment. No, it's not George Santos yet, but that could be coming. The Senator Melendez, this comes after 6 years after his trial on unrelated charges of corruption that ended with a hung jury. This indictment was unsealed yesterday in a Manhattan federal court, which also names the senator's wife, Nadine, and a prominent New Jersey real estate developer, Fred Davies, accusing them of participating in the corrupt scheme. Also named is another person who founded a halal meat certification business in New Jersey, and a fifth person who is a New Jersey businessman. This has been a lengthy investigation by the federal prosecutors, and the indictment is almost certain to resound in Washington and New Jersey. Watch out, George Santos. You could be next. Now we go to the governor of New York State, Kathy Hochul. It appears that there are many bills that haven't been signed. The state legislature gave her about 900 bills, and over 400 are still sitting on her desk. Now, governors in New York typically take time for their office to review legislation before requesting, either signing it or vetoing it. It becomes an automatic veto if after 30 days, supposedly, that the governor doesn't sign it, but that has not been really kept in. And let's just go through some of the bills that are waiting for the governor to sign. It is the Clean Slate bill from the Assembly and Senate. The bill known as Clean Slate would seal the criminal records of most New Yorkers after a certain number of years upon completing their sentences. And this is still on her desk. Reparations Commission, the bill would establish a commission to study the historical and lasting impacts of slavery on that had on Black New Yorkers and potential. I'm having a little technical difficulty here right now, so you're going to have to bear with me, unfortunately. All right, so hopefully we can continue. The Grieving Families Act, which is would allow families of wrongful death victims to receive compensation for emotional harm they suffered. The Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act, which this bill would make it easier for someone wrongly convicted of a crime to have their conviction overturned, even if that person pleaded guilty, by removing procedural barriers to having new evidence heard by the court. The OLAWUYI holiday, this legislation would establish the OLAWUYI as a public school holiday in New York City. Even election years, the bill would move most town and village or county elections outside New York City to even numbered years. The LLC transparency, this legislation would define limited liability company beneficiaries and require those beneficiaries to disclose as a means to combat anonymous corporate ownership, like an LLC owner, rental properties. The Building Owner Transparency, another bill that would require the disclosure of people behind a limited liability company. Raising the age to use ATVs. This bill would raise the age to operate all-terrain vehicles from 10 to 14. This is the first year it passed both chambers after the Assembly has failed to approve it in past years. But if you're using an ATV and you're on the road, you should have a regular license, not just be 14 years old. There's license for athletic trainers. This bill would require licenses to be an athletic trainer and would add athletic trainers to the list of mandatory reports of child abuse. Online accessibility, data on sexual orientation. That bill would require state agencies, commission, or boards that collect demographic information on ethnicity, also to collect information on sexual orientation and gender identity. It has been vetoed twice before. Breaking leases after death. This legislation would allow the estate of a dead tenant to terminate the lease with the landlord after the tenant's death. Utility price changes. This bill would require utilities to inform customers of energy service price changes. Electric bill transparency. Another bill that would give information about electric bills to customers. Another one is utility billing information. Again, allowing customers to have more information about their bills and information to third parties requesting customer information. Also, there is electronic vehicle charging. This piece of legislation would require commercial garages with electric vehicle charging stations to ensure the public has access to those charging stations. Absentee ballot defects. This would permit absentee ballots sealed with tape, paste, or other methods that would constitute a minor defect to still be counted if the envelope show no sign of tampering. Climate expenditure tracking. This bill would require the State Department of Environmental Conservation, in coordination with the State Energy Research Development Authority, to submit an annual climate expenditure report. Maternal care. This legislation, nicknamed after Mickey's Law, in honor of parents who suffered the loss of a fetus and struggled with medical support afterwards, would require hospitals to adopt and personally update standard protocols for patient care in the wake of a miscarriage or loss of fetus. Black youth mental health. This bill would establish a Black youth suicide prevention task force that would target the mental health of Black children between the ages of 5 and 18, and there are many more. Now, on Wednesday, I just want to say this before I go to a commercial, that Governor Hochul received her updated COVID-19 vaccine. Her first dose was a Johnson & Johnson vaccine back in March of 2021. Her first booster was the Moderna COVID-19 booster in October of 2021, and her second booster dose of the Pfizer vaccine in April of 2022. Now, it's amazing. She's had all three companies. I wonder which company that the governor received this time. And Mr. Producer, can we go to a commercial now?
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
Welcome back to our show. Let me just finish with Governor Hochul signing public health legislation to crack down on tobacco sales. Legislation A1025/S50 bans the sale of tobacco products at vending stands and in vending machines in New York State buildings. It protects public health by making harmful tobacco products less accessible. So let me ask you, Governor Hochul, why then have you approved the sale of marijuana, or I should say, as you call it now, cannabis, which is a tobacco product, if you don't want people to smoke tobacco? Now, I'm going to try a little thing here because I'm going to read from my blog. It concerns two people that were charged with federal narcotics offenses resulting in death. The death connection with poisoning of 4 children at a Bronx daycare center, where 1 died. This was the defendant stored distribution quantities of phenol and narcotics packing equipment in the daycare center, including a kilogram of phenol that killed 1 of the children and injured 3 others. The complaint is by the U.S. Attorney, Damian Williams. It goes against Jerry Mendez and Carlisto Acevedo Brito with narcotics possession and intent to distribute, resulting in death, and conspiracy to distribute narcotics, resulting in the death and connection poisoning of 4 children under the age of 3, 1 who died at a daycare center in Kingsbridge, located in the Bronx. Now, let me come back and get away from there. This is a incident that happened during the week. It happened Wednesday, I believe. And it is unexcusable that people who opened up a daycare center used it as a backdrop for a drug distribution center. And these people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent, especially, since these children, 1 child died and the other 3 children, we don't know how they are. Now, let's get into something I almost called him de Blasio. Mayor Adams is trying to do. He has launched his City of Yes. He wants to build 100,000 new homes for 250,000 New Yorkers. Now, is that homes or is that apartment buildings? Because there is a severe housing shortage which has driven up rents and shelter populations and has made the city increasingly unaffordable for working people. This plan would allow creation of homes and instead of parking spots, create additional affordable and supportive housing, eliminate exclusionary zoning, enable conversion of empty offices to homes. New York Mayor Adams launched an urgent, groundbreaking effort to tackle the city's persistent severe housing shortage and endure an affordability crisis by enabling the creation of a little more housing in every neighborhood, making New as the lack of affordable housing drives up rents and pushes more New Yorkers into shelter systems or in their cars, as some people say. Mayor Adams' City Yes for Housing Opportunity proposal would help New Yorkers who have built the city afford to stay here and raise their families. 250,000 New Yorkers. This plan is to be done over 15 years and more than it will create more than 2. The mayor wants to end parking mandates for new housing. So in essence, if you have an apartment building with 100 apartments, there is a rule that you must have X amount of parking spaces for those 100 apartments. Mayor Adams wants to do away with that because he figures that with the apartment buildings and all of this mass transit that's in New York City, people don't need to have cars. The mayor and his friends want to do away with cars. The proposal would eliminate the requirements that new homes, he puts it as homes, come with new parking spots. Parking would not be barred from new developments, but this plan would get zoning regulations out of the way so developers could make decisions consistent with the market and potential residents. Okay, he wants to put shared living. Okay, around the world, cities have lowered housing costs by allowing modest apartments where residents share common facilities. In essence, you're taking a house, splitting it into maybe 9 apartments, have 1 kitchen, 1 bathroom, and everybody shares it. That supposedly will cut down the cost of renting an apartment. So you won't have to rent a full apartment, you'll just rent 1 room. They want town centers or main streets zoning. Increased restrictive zoning has made it illegal to construct the kinds of commercial corridors that make neighborhoods across New York vibrant and distinct. Along these corridors, the town centers or main streets of respective communities, this proposal would allow between 2 and 4 stories of residential development over ground floor commercial space to encourage mixed-use communities and to foster natural, affordable types of housing. In essence, you're going back to the old 1950s, 1960s, where the store was underneath and you had 3 or 4 floors above it that were rented out to people. Okay, so what has happened over the course of the past 30 or so years, shopping centers were developed and then there was no housing built above them. The mayor wants to take your street and have those stores and have houses put right above them. So you're going back to the 50s or the 60s on that, and there were problems there. So he wants to go back to that. He wants transit-oriented development, connecting new housing to accessible public transit, can ease congestion, cut harmful emissions, and reduce car ownership. See, there's the key word, reduce car ownership. Foster a safer, cleaner, and more prosperous city. But in many parts of New York, current zoning forbids even modest apartment buildings. I'm going to digress here for a moment and hit on something that goes into Community Council District 13, which is called the Food Town Project. It is on Bruckner Boulevard and Crosby Avenue, where there is a Food Town store and other stores in a line for several blocks that were rezoned by then Councilman Jimmy Vaca to be no higher than 4 stories or 35 feet. It has now been rezoned by the new city council and Councilwoman Marjorie Velazquez, who said that she was with the community and would oppose this project. She is with the community. I'm with the community. And then when the vote came, she voted to approve the upzoning of this area to 8 stories or 85 feet, possibly. And then also with the new zoning, you can go even higher if you put in a community facility or you put X amount of affordable housing, so it could wind up 10 or 12 stories in an area that used to be zoned for 4 stories. All right, now, getting back to this, also, he's looking to put 6,000 units at two of the Metro North stations that are going to be opening up in the Bronx on the east side. 3,000 apartments at the Morris Park station and 3,000 apartments at the Van Ness Parkchester station. Now, Community Board 11 covers 3/4 of that. They cover the entire Morris Park area, and they cover half the Van Ness area, or the northern side of the Amtrak tracks. The southern side of the Amtrak tracks is Community Board 9, which is Parkchester. There is already a vacant lot there, which is a whole block that is waiting to become a 27-story building of mixed use, according as Mayor Eric Adams wants. Next item, accessory dwelling units. Backyard cottages, garage conversions, and basement units have delivered enormous benefits to homeowners across the country. Mayor Adams wants that here too. Dwelling units of up to 800 feet on 1 and 2 family properties across the 5 boroughs, adding new housing that fits into neighborhoods while we're providing space for multi-general family, health aides, and local workers, converting empty office buildings into housing. That is a good thing. That's the empty office buildings that are in Manhattan and some other places in the boroughs. He wants to turn that into housing. Maximizing campuses. By the way, he believes that there could be an additional 20,000 apartments or homes over the next decade by converting empty office space into apartments or housing. He wants to have large campuses that have underused space to build housing for New Yorkers. An example would be that Manhattan College in the past had a big parking lot on it. Or for instance, let's use Jacoby Hospital, which has an excess amount of parking. The mayor wants to take that parking lot and put housing on it. No need for cars because people won't be driving to Jacoby. Well, I'm sure the staff is going to agree with the mayor on that and say, how are we going to get there? Well, there's a new Metro North station right by Morris Park, which is a couple of blocks away from the 2 hospitals, Einstein and Jacoby. You can take the Metro North train there. Well, yeah, so much for that. Now, affordable housing advocates love the mayor and the borough president here in the Bronx and Bronx elected officials who are for this plan. And Open New York, which is behind this plan, said Council District 13 has only 58 new affordable housing units in 8 years that was built. Open New York backed the current 13th Councilwoman, Marjorie Velazquez, and like I said, after she said she was against a rezoning project, she turned her back on the community and voted for it. Now, Community Board 11 There are two 200-bed single men's shelters being built. There's one on Blondell Avenue, which is already almost built, and another one that will appear on Popham Street rather. There is also a a new hotel being built in Community Board 11, and it's supposedly going to be a 200-bed hotel, which probably will wind up for migrants. Several new buildings that will bring about 1,000 new units of affordable housing are on the way in Community Board 11. So I can't understand how the mayor wants to add 6,000 more units, or 4,500 basically, to Community Board 11, which would bring it to at about 5,000 units of new housing. Now, he wants the 59 community districts to split this 100,000 equally, so that would be about 2,000 units per community board. So I don't know why he's going to burden Community Board 11 with more than 2.5 times the amount of this new housing. All right, it should be equal. The Community Board 11 is finally getting shelters, and it should have enough new housing coming as it is. There is no need to build additional housing by the train station. Now, let me get into another subject, unemployment numbers for August 2023 compared to August 2022. In the United States in 2022, the unemployment rate was 3.8%. This August, it was 3.9%, or a jump of 0.1%. In New York, the unemployment rate was 4.2% last year, and this year it is now 4.4%, and a jump of 0.2%. In New York City, the unemployment rate is 5.2%, which would in August 2022, and it is 5.6% in August 2023, a jump of 0.4%. And which of the 5 boroughs is the least? Manhattan has the least unemployment, along with Queens at 5%, which Queens had 4.6% last year, and Manhattan 4.2%. So they're either a jump of 0.4% or 0.8%. And the unemployment rate here in the Bronx in August 22 was 7.1%. It is now 7.3%, or a gain of 0.2%. What is happening that the Bronx continues to be the highest borough with the unemployment? Recently, this past week, there were raids on illegal smoke shops, as they're called, with Assemblymember John Cicaro Jr. joining the Sheriff's Department to investigate these illegal smoke shops. What they found, they went to stores at 649 Allerton Avenue, known as 200 Healthy Deli Corp., 686-686 Allerton Avenue, Bronx Convenience and Smoke Shop Store Corporation, and 800 Allerton Avenue Smoke Shop Incorporated. They found that there were here's what happened. There were 2 arrests, 4 Class C summonses were issued, 6 notices of violations with 32 violations and 196 counts of violation, an estimated of $223,700 in penalties, 14.5 cartons of untaxed cigarettes were seized, 3,392 packages of other tobacco products untaxed were seized, 1,824 flavored vape products, 190 THC vapes, 2,009 packages of THC flowers weighing a total of 39.38 pounds, 1,750 THC pre-rolled joints, that's the illegal cannabis cigarettes, totaling at 4.4 pounds, 365 packages of THC edibles weighing a total of 38.6 pounds. THC is the illegal cannabis. Then they went on Monday, September 18th, to 2 places. They raided the Pelham Bay Convenience Corporation at 2180 White Plains Road, and Hookah Zone Convenience Incorporated at 634 Morris Park Avenue. Over there were 5 arrests in those 2 raids, criminal possession of a weapon, 4 notice of violations with 21 violations and 135 counts of violations, an estimated $153,600 in penalties, Criminal possession of controlled substance, they found cocaine, it says. Products seized include favored vape products, packages of THC flower weighing 31.46 pounds, THC pre-rolled cigarettes weighing a total of 8.45 pounds, edibles weighing a total of 46.07 pounds. They found mushroom products, including chocolate bars and liquid containers with other hallucinogenic ingredients, and packages of other tobacco products, which probably didn't have any tax stamps. Now, Assemblyman Zaccaro says over the past few months, my office has been contacted by concerned constituents offering invaluable tips on how these businesses have been circumventing the law. The information gathered was quickly turned over to the Office of Cannabis Management and New York City Sheriff's Office for further investigation. The Assemblyman wants to thank the constituents who reached out to him and the dedicated men and women of the County Sheriff's Office for their incredible work. These raids could not have been done without the community's help and everybody working together. Now, I'm running over, and I'm going to try and quickly get to these last few items. The International Cricket Council will be holding their matches in Eisenhower Park on Long Island and not in Van Cortlandt Park, as was the mayor wanted. And finally, general election time is coming, November 7th, 2023. Early voting will begin on October 28th and go through November 5th. And it is interesting that there was a special election in Assembly District 27 on September 12th, 2023. And there is no information about the general election except for the early voting times. There is no poll sites. There is nothing else about the November 7th election. And many of you know that I have had problems with the Board of Elections going into poll sites and with the inspectors there or the coordinators there questioning me as to what I'm doing there, trying to kick me out. But I'm in these poll sites working for you, trying to make sure that everything is correct and nothing is going down that is illegal. So early voting starts on August 28th in the council districts. Almost every council person has a race. The hot race, which political experts say could swing, is the 13th council district on the east side of the Bronx, which is currently held by Councilwoman Marjorie Velazquez, who is being challenged by Christy Maramato, who has the support of the Republican and conservative parties. And from what I'm hearing, many Democrats are going to be voting for her also. So it looks like it could be a new council person in the 13th council district. So if you're unhappy with your current councilwoman, don't forget to get out and vote. Early voting starts October 28th. And since I'm over right now, I am going to close the show. And thank you for watching the show. We'll have more on the upcoming election and future shows. And I hope to have both candidates, but I know that the councilwoman will not appear on here. So as almost all of the current Bronx Democratic County elected officials who have been told, do not go on to talking politics because Mr. Press is not our friend, when that is not true. I have nothing against the Bronx Democratic Party organization. In fact, I said to current county leader Jamal Bailey 2 years before he was put in as county leader, Jamal, when are you going to be put in county leader? He says, no, not yet. I have to be trained a little more. I need some more time. And 2 years later, and as a matter of fact, State Senator Jamal Bailey will be nominated for a judge next year, according to my sources. And good luck to you, Senator Bailey. You can have the judge gets 10-year terms, and he is young enough to at least serve 2 10-year terms on the bench. And Senator Bailey will make an excellent judge when he becomes a judge. So let me say goodbye and thank you for watching right now, and end the show with, we hope to see you next week. Thank you.
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York PARROT, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We